So hey y'all, welcome back. So today we are in First Samuel chapter 6. Last chapter ended with panic in Philistine cities. God proved he doesn't need Israel's army to defend his glory. Now the Philistines are finally asking the right question. Not how do we win, but how do we make this right? All right, let's walk through it. 1 Samuel 6:1. When the ark of the Lord had been in Philistine territory for 7 months, 7 months, that's a long time to live under God's heavy hand. Plenty of time to absolutely notice patterns. Plenty of time to know this isn't random. All right, let's look at verse 2. The Philistines summoned the priests and the diviners and pleaded, "What should we do with the ark of the Lord? Tell us how we can send it back to its place." So they finally stopped moving the ark around from city to city. They stopped pretending and they admit they don't know what to do. That's often where real change starts. All right, verse 3 of 1 Samuel. They replied, "If you send the ark of Israel's God away, do not send it without an offering. Send back a guilt offering to him, and you will be healed." And you know what? This matters. They recognize guilt. They recognize offense. They know something has to be acknowledged before healing comes. Even pagan priests understand that sin has consequences. All right, verses 4 and 5. They asked, "What guilt offering should we send back to him?" And they answered, 5 gold tumors and 5 gold mice. Make images of your tumors and of your mice that are destroying the land. Give glory to Israel's God, and perhaps he will stop oppressing you. This sounds strange, doesn't it? But it's actually a confession. They're saying, this is what God did. This is what we deserve. This is what he brought. They don't minimize it. They don't rename it. They don't explain it away. They absolutely give God the credit. All right, let's look at verse 6. Why harden your hearts as the Egyptians and Pharaoh hardened theirs? When he afflicted them, didn't they send Israel away and Israel left? You know what? This is stunning. It really is. Pagans remember Israel's history better than Israel did in chapter 4. They remember what happens when you resist the Lord. Hard hearts don't end well. All right, verses 7 and 9. Now then, prepare 1 new cart and 2 milk cows that have never been yoked together. Then watch if it goes up the road to its homeland toward Beth Shemesh. It is the Lord who has made this terrible trouble for us. So they set up a test. Untrained cows, calves taken away, no human steering at all. If this ark makes it home, there's no denying who did it. All right, let's see what happens. The suspense is heavy. Verses 10 and 12. The men did this. The cows went straight up the road to Beth Shemesh. They never strayed to the right or to the left. This is one of the quietest miracles in Scripture. No thunder, no fire, no spectacle. Just obedience, complete obedience from animals. Creation listens to its creator. We can't miss that. How powerful. Verse 13. The people of Beth Shemesh were harvesting wheat. When they looked up and saw the ark, they were overjoyed to see it. Finally, joy, relief, God's presence has returned. But the story isn't over yet. All right, let's look at verses 14 and 15. The cart came to the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh. The Levites removed the ark of the Lord. That day, the people of Beth Shemesh offered burnt offerings and made sacrifices to the Lord. What did they do? They worship. They sacrifice. They thank God. All good things, right? All good things. All right, let's look at 16 through 18. When the 5 Philistine rulers observed this, they returned to Ekron. The large rock on which the ark of the Lord was placed is still in the field today. The Philistines leave convinced God absolutely did this. No debate, no doubt, he did this. All right, let's look at verse 19. God struck down the people of Beth Shemesh because they looked inside the ark of the Lord. Man, what? That verse is hard, but it's important. God is not safer because he's familiar. Israel was home, but God is still holy. Curiosity doesn't override obedience. Verse 20, the people of Beth Shemesh asked, who is able to stand in the presence of the Lord, this holy God? You know what? That's actually the right question. Not how do we control God, but how do we stand before him? Right? All right, let's look at verse 21. Verse 21 says, they sent messengers to the residents of Kirath Jearim, saying, the Philistines have returned the ark of the Lord. Come down and get it. So the chapter ends with distance again. Not because God moved, but because people still don't fully grasp who he is. And you know what? Here's the truth of chapter 6. God is not a lucky charm. God is not a religious object. God is not safe in the way we want him to be. But he is good. And he makes a way for his presence to return without destroying his people. And that's where this story is headed. And ultimately, it points us forward to Jesus, if you think about it, right? The one who makes it possible for sinful people to stand before a holy God. All right, we'll keep walking it next time. We're in chapter 7. And until then, keep loving him, keep following him, and keep being obedient. See you next time.